Morning breakfast seminar. It's a very relaxed way to speak outside of the lecture halls, and I'm really pleased to be here to introduce you, I guess, to the idea of whitefella dreaming. I recognise from the outset there's a potential controversy here in this phrase that I've decided to go ahead and use. Dreaming obviously being the Aboriginal term, or one of the Aboriginal terms for the great mythology that ties everything together in the Australian Aboriginal cosmology, that brings spirit into the material world and keeps the people linked to their most profound beliefs. We're whitefellas, but effectively new Australians. Had some really interesting conversations already with friends of mine that are either Middle Easterners or Asians who don't identify as whitefellas. And I guess what I wanted to say to them was, first of all, I want to stay true to that term because that's where I come from, and they're the people that that I need to speak to first. But there's also something else about the phrase whitefella that I guess for me is a helpful distinction for all of us to keep in mind as new Australians. Really, the Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders are the only Australians that have been here for more than a couple of centuries. And certainly they have a very, very special link to the land, to the sea, to the creatures, to the night sky, to nature. And that's something that I recognise, as many, many people do now, that we're missing to a certain extent, that connection to nature. Even for a tree-hugging, greeny bushwalker like me, it's still different. It's still being in nature and relating with it, but we don't have that feeling of being grounded in nature, of emerging out of nature, of being absolutely inextricably a part of nature that is really trained into every Aboriginal Australian from the word go. So what I wanted to do was to figure out a way I could take the modern Australian way of being and try to tie it back into this kind of identification with nature, which is really the hallmark of many Indigenous cosmologies, especially the Australian ones. And try to do that in a way that was inclusive,